This morning I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, somebody I grew up with, went to high school with, became business partners with, and we got onto the topic of financial myths, or things we thought about finance that we later realized were just kind of wrong, and ultimately we shifted our behavior. So I figured I'd make a video, share them with you. I think many of you guys will find them kind of interesting. First one, stock market crashes. Now, just to give you some context here, I'm 32. I was born in the year 1990, so that means that my years when I was kind of realizing personal finance and investing would have been 08, 09, 2010, right during the Great Recession. So as I'm getting interested in investing and kind of looking at numbers and personal finance types of things, basically all around me, the financial world is falling apart. Everything is in decline, all asset classes, the stock market naturally going down. Everything is just kind of down, right? That's all you hear about are people that are losing everything because of the stock market crash. So at that time, I kind of developed this mindset that stock market crashes are imminent, or that stock market crashes happen frequently. Now, don't get me wrong, stock market crashes do happen, but they really don't happen that frequently. By and large, having exposure to stocks, they go up in time. And by stocks, I mean a broad market portfolio like the S&P 500, they go up in time. So just to kind of make that point and drive that point home, I pulled up this chart here. Actually, not a chart, it's a website, officialdata.org. And you can see the value of $100 invested in the stock market over any period of time. And you can see just how much it's grown going back to the year 1900. S&P 500 has had substantial returns over this 121-year period. Right? But it looks like a hockey stick. And I think a lot of people might look at this and be like, this can't keep going up forever. This can't keep going up forever, right? Look at it. And now it got more volatile here in the 2000s, right? This market's definitely going to crash. Well, we can find other periods in time. Like, let's just put this to 1950. And that's going to make everything look a lot different down here, not so flatline. We can look at it here and say, oh my gosh, the market is going to crash. Interestingly, here's that 1928 crash, 1928, 1929. So it was a big crash, but over a period of time, stocks go up. And, the fear of stock market crashes really kind of kept me on the sidelines, or kept me out of the market, and missed many good years of returns. Fortunately, I think I was still relatively young. By my mid-20s, I'd certainly kind of not dipped my toe, but gotten more into, or fully into, the stock market. Whereas in hindsight, I wish, in 2010, 2011, I was just dumping all my money in there. Even the meager savings I had in 08, 09 as a teenager, gosh, that would have been a great time to just buy SPXL triple leverage. All right, so moving on from stock market crashes, next one, debt is bad. Now, I fundamentally operated my entire life on this concept of debt is bad, from the time I was about 20 to, even close to where I am now at 32, to my late 20s. And that is just debt is bad, that Dave Ramsey mentality. And I think a lot of that came from, again, this time period of 07, 08, 09, where I saw people that had debt just kind of lose everything. Right? Not all debt is bad. Debt to get exposure to appreciating assets is good, or it can be good. The problem is when you start leveraging things out to the max, going into like interest-only types of loans, or very, very little down payment types of loans, then that's when things really kind of, cause a problem. Or consumer debt, I guess I'm kind of overlooking that or overstepping it. Consumer debt, bad. And in some cases, it's best to negotiate a cash discount on those things. But, like a mortgage on an appreciating asset like a home, that is not bad. A small business loan to buy a business, particularly if it's an industry that you already work in and have experience in, that is not bad. You're getting exposure to an appreciating asset. And I know particularly over the last year here, 2021, people are realizing that, and people are seeing that, because the place where you're losing out is on cash or anything that is not an appreciating asset. You're really, really, really losing out there. Now, granted, I don't think things are going to be like that going forward. I'm not saying go out there and leverage everything to the moon, but debt is not bad. And even as I say that, I still don't have a ton of debt, but I do have some to gain exposure to appreciating assets. So debt for appreciating assets is good. Debt is bad. I think that is really a myth, that may have prohibited some growth that I could have gotten on earlier on in my professional career, I guess we could say. Next up, prices come down. And this is kind of like not a consumer mantra, but I'm talking about the consumer aspect of things. A lot of people say right now prices are too high. And people have said that at all periods of time. I remember back in 2015, people were saying housing prices were too high, right? And again, hindsight looking, we had that Great Recession in the mirror. The reality is prices rarely ever come down. We've never seen a drawdown like '08 and '09, nothing even remotely close to that in the housing market. But aside from that, in the consumer market, you see it as well. So you might not know this about me, but my source of wealth primarily has been owning and investing in home service businesses like air conditioning companies and plumbing companies. In every single day, consumers say, your price is too high. I'm going to wait a little bit for it to come down. Right? I've been hearing that every single day of my professional career, going back to 2010, when I got into the home service industry. And guess what? Prices just keep going up. Very, very rarely do they go down. And I know looking back to '08, '09, during that time period, I remember looking at a new car and shopping for new cars. I'm thinking, the market's crashing, things are going down, prices are going to go down. Guess what? Car manufacturers were raising their prices during those times. The price of consumer goods and services, I should say, because I'm talking a lot about services here and home services in that context, they rarely come down. And I guess you could say the same is true for appreciating assets like housing. Yes, housing prices did come down in '08, '09, but that was really a once-in-a-lifetime or a once-in-history event. Might it happen again? Yeah, it could. Statistically, it's unlikely for it to come down. So waiting for pricing to come down and get a better opportunity to buy something tends to be a loser's game. And finally, number 4, your safety net should be in cash. And I'm talking about your safety net emergency funds. A lot of people hold them in cash, and I think Dave Ramsey advocates holding it in cash. You can find substantial data out there, and Betterment publishes a lot of data on this, showing that holding your safety net in a portfolio of stocks and bonds, I don't know what they're recommending at the moment. I know as of a couple months ago, I think they're recommending 40% equities, 60% bonds. But any amount, I would say probably less than 50-50 stocks and bonds, any allocation of less than 50% stocks is not going to be extremely risky. And that way you get the exposure on the upside and you still have the money there. And Betterment's philosophy too, and I did a whole video on this, is hold 20% more, invest 20% more in your safety net than you really need for a safety net. But by that token, you are getting more upside by not holding money in cash. Because you got to think about it, right? How often do you really need your safety net? If you only need it every couple of years, need to dip into it every couple of years, or might need to dip into it every couple of years. And I know, with the bull market we've had over the last 10 years, the job market has been growing and very hot. No one's really losing their jobs. Holding your money in cash over that period of time would have been missing out on 10 great years of returns. So yeah, those are 4 financial myths that could cost you. I think they've certainly costed me returns and opportunity. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.